Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of FS MaNiA. Dawn is breaking and we are back at the Tangier Island airport preparing for a flight in the impeccably modeled A2A Simulations Piper Cherokee 180. The Cherokee 180 was released by A2A a couple of years ago, and there are plenty of YouTube videos that have dissected all the fine qualities of both the real-world Cherokee and the A2A model. So instead of regurgitating all the same information on Cherokee details and performance stats, I'm going to focus more on FS MaNiA's brand new, shiny FSX Steam Edition Simulator. This is our first FS MaNiA video with FSX Steam, and I'm pretty excited to see how this new simulator will perform compared to the boxed version of FSX that we've been flying with. I've picked a special destination airport for the first official flight in FS MaNiA's new simulator. I thought we should fly about 100 nautical miles south to the First Flight Airport located on the Outer Banks of North Carolina in Kill Devil Hills. Kill Devil Hills is a town in Dare County, North Carolina with a population of around 7,000 year-round residents. The town is home to the site of the Wright brothers' first controlled powered airplane flights, which took place back on December 17, 1903. The Wright brothers' flights were commemorated by the Wright Brothers National Memorial. First Flight Airport identifier Kilo Foxtrot Foxtrot Alpha is a public use airport which is owned by the National Park Service. The airport covers an area of 40 acres at an elevation of 13 feet above mean sea level. It has one runway, designated 220, with an asphalt surface measuring 3,000 by 60 feet. For the 12-month period ending August of 2009, the airport had 38,120 aircraft operations. That's an average of 104 per day. That's a whole lot of traffic for this tiny little airport. So for this trip, we're going to use only VOR radio navigation to find our way to Kill Devil Hills. Let's take a quick look at our flight plan. Okay, we're looking at the Washington VFR sectional chart. You can see that I have plugged in our departure airport, Tangier Island, and our destination airport, First Flight. You can see the magenta line that's drawn from Tangier Island to the south about, well, it is exactly 109.5 nautical miles as the crow flies down to First Flight Airport way down here, right on the edge of the chart. And I can see that we have, if we go in a straight line, that we're going to have some warning areas and restricted areas to deal with. There's a warning area W72A, there's 50A, 50B, 50C. Let's zoom in just a little so we can see those better, and a restricted area here as well, 6606. Well, on the sectional chart, just down below, you can look up the nature of those restricted areas and warning areas and find out when they're active and when they're not. And there's 50A, B, and C, and it's from the surface to flight level 750, and it's intermittent by NOTAM. Well, I've checked the NOTAMs, and we're okay with those warning areas, fortunately, because we couldn't go over them and we couldn't go under them. Warning 72A, which is the one that's off the coast, west of 7530, I'll show you where that is, but it is up to and not including 2,000 feet, so it's from the surface to 2,000 feet. Also intermittent by NOTAM. That one is active, but we're going to be above it, so we won't have any problem, because I'll show you 7530 is right here, and we're west of it on our flight, so no problem over there. The other one was a restricted area, and that one was 6606, and it's from the surface to 51,000 feet, and it's from basically 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. So that one's a little bit more problematic if we're flying 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, which we're going to pretend that we are here. And so that one we need to be able to navigate around. Now, if we were flying a direct line, we'd be okay with GPS because we'd be missing it. But since we're going to be flying with the VORs, that's a little bit more of a problem. So from Tangier, we're going to navigate to the Cape Charles VOR. So I'm going to place the course line there, and I'm going to pick the Cape Charles VOR. And there we have it. And our course will be 191. Our bearing to the station will be 191 and 29 nautical miles. Then from Cape Charles, we need to navigate to another VOR. And there is another one down here. We can't see it because it's on another chart. I hate it when that happens. We need the Charlotte sectional. Well, in this case, I can just hit world, let's see, VFR, and lo and behold, we got it. So we didn't have to paste two charts together. That's the nice thing about SkyVector. So now I can bring the course line down here. There's a VOR in MaNiO at the, it's the Wright Brothers VOR, and at the Dare County Regional Airport, and let's pick that. And so now we have a station to navigate to, and here's where we're going. Let's zoom in. There's the First Flight Airport over in Kill Devil Hills, and that's where we're going. So we're not going to go all the way to the station. We're just going to come up here and enter the pattern for the First Flight Airport. So let's see what that does to our course now back with these restricted areas. It's putting us right through R6606. Don't like that, and we don't want to get run over by a jet. So got another idea. Let's do this. We'll take our course line and let's come out here and let's put a point that's gives us some room to get away from that, a little wiggle room for error just in case we get off a little bit. We don't want to get shot down or anything. And we'll just put this point in. It's not going to be a GPS point. We're going to navigate using the VOR radials. So we will fly outbound from Cape Charles on the 174-degree radial for 53 nautical miles to this point right here. And when we reach that 53 nautical mile point, that will identify with a DME that we have on board. And another way we can identify it is by plotting a radial over here that intersects it off of either the Norfolk VOR or the Elizabeth City VOR, which would be the one I would probably choose. We would just plot this radial off of here, dial this station in our number 2 nav radio, and when the needles, and put that radial in the 2 or the from either one, and when it centers up over here, we know we were at that point. But since we have DME, we can just use that to identify it. Once we get there, then we'll be flying a bearing to the Wright Brothers VOR, the 192 bearing, for not 35 nautical miles because our airport's 6 nautical miles closer than that, so we'll be flying for 29 nautical miles, and easy peasy.
Okay, time to get the go on. Hop aboard, buckle up, let's go flying. And welcome aboard. This is FS MaNiA's non-stop service to Kill Devil Hills. This will be a VFR flight today, and we will not be using ATC for this trip. Normally I would call Norfolk Approach somewhere around the Cape Charles VOR for flight following. However, there is no active feed for Norfolk ATC on atclive.net, which is where I get ATC chatter. I'm not sure why there isn't a Norfolk feed unless it has something to do with the high density military activity in the area, but that's okay. We'll just need to really keep a sharp eye out for traffic and remain clear of Norfolk's Class Charlie airspace.
Okay, let's get going. Before start checklist. Seatbelts and shoulder harnesses are fastened and adjusted. Fuel selector, select left or right. We will go with the right tank. Parking brake is set. Carb heat is cold, full in. Circuit breakers are all in. These are modeled, which is very nice. Way to go, A2A. Radio master is off. Pitot heat is off also. Rotating beacon is on. I like to leave that on always. Autopilot is off. Before start checklist complete. Okay, we're ready to start the engine. We're going to prime it 3 to 5 strokes. I think we'll go 3. That should do it. Mixture goes rich. Throttles are open 1/4 of an inch. Battery master on. And let's check the fuel quantity. That looks good. We've got about 18 gallons in each tank, about 70% fuel. Auxiliary fuel pump on. Let's take a look at the fuel pressure. That looks good. Ignition magneto switch set to both. Propeller area clear visually. Clear prop. Starter engage. Oil pressure is coming up. And let's idle about 1,000 RPMs. And let's get our headsets on. Okay, test, got me. All right, we got her running. We'll let her warm up here. After start, auxiliary fuel pump off. I do have a switch map there to my throttle quadrant just to make it a little easier, since it's sort of a hard place to get to. And if we were going to sit here for a long time, we'd lean the mixture out, but we're not going to sit here, and we're at sea level, so we're going to leave the mixture in. I haven't had any problem with that, except for one time when I sat too long on the ground. So let's see, I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. I hope that's not indicative of an issue. Nav panel lights are on already. On my sim, this switch right here is froze. It won't move. I don't know why. I had the same problem with the Comanche 250, but it's okay. Let's see, transponder, bring that into actually standby mode, and let's get the radios on there. There we go. Looks like we want to make sure we've got a charge here, and we are charging up. And the other thing is the air temperature in here, and a little switch over here hard to get to the heat, but it's pulled on and it'll be nice and toasty here. I'm gonna idle that engine back just a little bit. There we go. For our departure, I'm gonna set, let's get over here to the radios. I'm gonna set the radios up. We're on standby here. The comm frequency for the CTAF here, Unicom, is 122.8, so let's plug that in here in COM 1. There we go. And for the VOR, let me pull up the chart here. There we go. So we're going to see Cape Charles. It'll be our first nav aid we're going to navigate to. 112.2 is the frequency. So let's put that up here in nav 1. There, it's in there. And we're going to identify it up here on the audio panel by, since we've got the headphones on, we'll see if that will work for us. We're transmitting on COM 1. Here's the marker beacons and the sensitivity to adjust them for flying ILS approaches. So all that looks good. The altimeter, we'll set that up to field elevation, which is just a little bit above sea level, so 3034. And our DG should be set with our compass. So let's check that, because I believe I've got actually the drift set in where the DG will drift. I think I remember doing that. So right now it looks like it's pretty much spot on. Our heading bug, we will put that on our departure heading, which will be pretty much about the way we're pointed right there. So that's good. And with that, we are ready to taxi out for departure. Leave our little window open just so we don't fog up heading out. Landing light, I also have that on my yoke. Parking brake released, and away we go. I'm still getting used to this sim and just all the little fine adjustments that I need to make. Of course, I'm running a lot of new software, actually, a fair amount. It's not all new. I am familiar with it, so I shouldn't be making excuses. Let's set our brake and we'll do a run up. We'll go ahead and bring the, there's go ahead once. We'll go ahead and bring the engine up. (2,000 RPMs). Let's check the mags. Left mag, we got a drop, 75 RPM. Right mag, a little bit of a drop. Carb heat, got a drop. Suction gauge is in the green. All the gauges in the green. Pressures look good. Temperatures look good. Retard the throttle. And back down to 1,000. Excellent. And let's check our controls. Sure we're happy with what we're seeing. And I think we can crane our neck all the way around and see the stabilator. Yes, we can. Check the flaps. Make sure they have full range of movement. Excellent. Mixture is rich. Carb heat is still off. Fuel selector, we're on the right tank, starting at 5 past the hour. Auxiliary fuel pump, bring it back on. Latch this door right here. Maybe we didn't have it unlatched. There we are. Okay, I think we got it. We'll leave that window open. I thought I had that door unlatched, but I don't think I did actually. And we'll save putting on our transponder and pitot heat till we get down to the end of runway 2, which is where we're headed. Tangier traffic, you got a Cherokee back taxiing runway 2 for departure, Cherokee, Tangier. Okay. Make sure we don't have anybody coming. Don't see anybody. I'm using default traffic so far, and FSX's default traffic. I don't really particularly want a lot of traffic, so I think really that's going to be fine for me. And I may add some traffic later on. We'll just see, wait and see. But I'm really going to try not to get too many things bogging the sim down. Just try to stick with what I need. See if I close this pilot's window, if it helps me a little bit on. Yeah, definitely. Whew, that's better. I have seen some YouTube videos of people flying the A2A Cherokee with that window open, and I'll say I've flown with it open when it gets really hot, especially at low altitudes, but it is noisy. At least it is in my headset. I've got a lot to talk about on this trip, and it's going to be a miracle if I have time to tell you everything I wanted to say. And there's some fun facts. I'm going to talk about those. We're also going to talk a fair amount about FSX Steam Edition, and I'll give you some details probably in the second part about some of the software that I am running. Also, of course, I'll have that on the about page on the FS MaNiA YouTube channel page. On the about, under the about tab is where it is, and I haven't revised that yet, but I will try to do that so that we'll have it. You'll have it there. You can refer to if you want to see more about my hardware and software that I'm running. Okay, last couple of items on the checklist. Let's bring the transponder up into the altitude mode. Pitot heat goes on. Doors were latched. Mixture is rich. Carb heat's cold. Flaps are down. Fuel's right tank. And we put these strobe lights on, which we could have done that before we got on the runway. Should have done it, but it's okay. And let me just see and be sure I got everything on the list. Lights, heat, action. We're ready to go. Brakes released and get her going. So we've got some wind coming off the left nose. So when we pull the nose up, of course the Cherokee wants me to put in some right rudder because it wants to turn left, but in this case I'm going to let it turn left a little bit and we'll crab into the wind as we depart. And we'll just ease her on up, let it turn left just a little bit, and then give it the right rudder. Keep our wings level. 85 knots is what we'd like to see. We'll climb to 400 feet and then we'll make a right turn. 45 degrees to 065 and depart the pattern as we climb out. And there's the Cape Charles VOR, right on time. So we've identified it, we'll cut it off. And let's come out and depart the pattern at a 45-degree angle. So we'll climb above pattern altitude, which is about 800 feet, and then we'll turn back towards our on-course heading of about 200, somewhere in there. We'll get our needle centered up and coming through 1,000 feet now. We'll climb just a little higher before we turn back towards the airport. Trim my nose down just a little bit. So since we're flying in the direction that's not the way we want to go, it's best to keep your climb rate up and keep your airspeed low so we don't get too far away. And now that we're at 1,300 feet, let's go ahead and start that turn back, and then we'll lower the nose and speed the airplane up and get out of Dodge. Sunrise coming up there over the Chesapeake. Hello, Mr. Sun. And we got some altitude. We'll cut the fuel pump off and bring our landing lights off and bring our wing up so we don't go into a spin. And let's see, our heading to the station is going to be wherever we center this needle, about 190. Let's warm up our autopilot as we're climbing out. Trim the nose down a little more. And it's going through a series of tests over here. So we're going to cruise at 3,500 feet VFR. Keep us below these clouds, which are around 4,500 feet in that range. And our autopilot is ready. We're still climbing, but we're going to go into the wings level mode right there. The heading mode. Uh-oh. Don't like that. There we go. Okay, the heading mode, as I was saying, let's keep it climbing, is the next mode that's there. And then the next mode, which is the low sensitivity mode, which will track the needle to the station. So we've got the two flag pointing to Cape Charles VOR. We're coming through 3,000 feet, climbing out nicely, and we can let the autopilot take care of our heading and flying the airplane and keeping the needle centered. And then all we need to do is just get it leveled off up here at 3,500 feet. Since we've gone through 3,000, we'll go ahead and lean it out just a bit. Just kind of roughly lean it right there. this flies so much like the real Cherokee, it's scary. The only thing I think that's missing is a little bit more yawing in the real airplane. But when you get into a little bit of rough air, you got your hands full of airplane. So there's 3,500 feet. We'll just lower the nose, touch a little touch of trim. When we get it about where we want it, the trim, then we'll set the altitude hold. About 70 or 80 feet short of my altitude, so we'll go up there and get it. See if we can get it to level off right on 3,500 so my OCD won't kick in. There we go. Right in there. And now we can select altitude. Give it just a little nose down trim and we'll see if it'll hold that. And I'm going to reduce the power just a little bit and get us trimmed out and leaned out. 75% power at cruise at 3,500 feet. I believe it's 2,580. Hang on, let me double check. Don't want to tell you wrong. 2,580 or so, because 3,000 is 2,560, 4,000 is 2,580, so about 2,550 should be fine. And let's see if we can lean it out anymore. There, the RPMs are dropping, so I'm going to just bring it right back in just a little bit. And you can also use the EGT gauge over here, exhaust gas temperature, to lean just a little bit lean of peak if you want to. Completely up to you. So let's see, our DME is set to nav 1, which is Cape Charles. We're 20 miles away, doing 137 knots. We'll be there in 9 minutes. So that gives me just a few minutes to tell you a little bit about what's going on with FS MaNiA's simulator. Yeah, I've been considering transitioning into a new simulator for a while now. And I guess my personal reason for wanting a change is, well, like me, FSX is growing old. Meanwhile, developers like X-Plane are continuing to develop and release new and better versions of flight simulators that support 64-bit architecture. The development of FSX boxed version for all practical purposes ended when Microsoft fired the aces back in 2009, as I recall. And since then, only the dedication and tech savvy of a hardcore group of flight sim community members has kept. Where are we going? Okay, so the VOR is on this little piece of land right here, if I remember right. I think that's where it is, so we should be navigating straight to that. But anyway, these flight simmers have been basically just tweaking and working to keep FSX churning, the old version churning along. But you know, a lot's changed in the flight sim world since the release of FSX back in 2006, and computers are more powerful, processors are more powerful, graphic processing units are better, more powerful, and it just seems like to me that the the add-on software developers have had their hands tied with FSX in many ways, and just they're having to find workarounds, you know, to make things work with FSX. So, you know, the writing's kind of on the wall to me. I've been reluctant to switch, and mainly because, you know, I got a lot of time and money invested in the FSX box version, and with all its tweaks and add-ons. And the thing is, though, is as the computer hardware continues to evolve, I know this is going to sound like heresy to some, but for all practical purposes, FSX box version is eventually going to lose its place as king of the hill, if it hasn't already. And eventually it will need to be laid to rest. So it seems like the plane's wallowing a little bit all over the sky. I'm going to set the heading right here. And when we get within about 3 or 4 miles of the station, we're going to want to go into heading mode, because the sensitivity of the station is really increases as we get closer to it, and the the CDI will start going all over the place. Eventually it will completely move to the full deflection, and we don't want the autopilot to be chasing that needle. So we're going to figure out what heading is working for us, and we'll keep everything going straight, and then we'll make our turn to, I think it's about 20 degrees to the east. We'll look at the chart when we get there, but maybe have time to tell you the sort of funny story about how I finally decided on FSX Steam. And some of you may have already realized or watched my TBM 850 video and know that I do tend to use the phrase "go ahead" frequently, particularly when I'm running a checklist or at various phases of the flight. And I got called out by a viewer in a comment about that, and they just said basically, in sort of a nice way, is, I like your videos, but lose the go ahead, it's distracting. And so I gave it an effort and tried to at least curtail the amount of times I used it. I was really trying to refrain from using it, but I think it's just hardwired into my BIOS chip, and for some reason it just is a term that I use a lot. So anyway, in the last video I did get a lot of really nice comments, encouraging comments from a lot of FS MaNiA viewers, and basically we're saying, we're good with it, just be yourself and go ahead and make some more videos. So that's what I'm doing. And then one comment came in from Christopher Mangles. Thanks for this, Christopher. He said, FS MaNiA, yeah, no worries, keep it up. By the way, you should listen to Jordan King. He's going ahead like crazy when he's doing a jet, and his videos are seriously great. So I checked out a few of Jordan's videos, and sure enough, he also uses the phrase "go ahead" fairly regularly when he's working on a checklist. And as Jordan put it, it's sort of a strategic pause that he uses in the cockpit when multitasking. And I think that's true. There's a lot of simultaneous aviation navigation, communication, narration, and several other shuns that are happening while we're doing these videos, and we're juggling a lot trying to film a flight and do all that. So yeah, the go ahead may be partially a strategic pause, but at any rate, what we're doing, we're 8 miles from the station, 136 knots. And we are crabbed into the wind because we're tracking inbound on about the 193 or so radial. Oh yeah, here we go, over here. So this is to the station, the 193 degree radial, and the Charlie Victor, Charlie Victor is the identifier over there. So this is a handy little instrument for knowing what radio we're on. We're going to use that some en route. So yeah, anyway, back to the whole Jordan thing. I checked out his channel. When I was looking over there, I saw a video that was titled 10 Reasons FSX Steam Edition is Better Than FSX Boxed Version. And so I watched it, and if you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. It's a very thorough and detailed comparison of the two platforms, and Jordan's video convinced me it's time to pull the trigger on FSX Steam Edition. So I guess sometimes when you get criticized for something, like saying go ahead, it works out for the better. So anyway, I cleared my calendar on a Friday, and I downloaded Steam, and the autopilot's letting me know it wants some trim 5 miles away. VOR is right out there. And so I installed the Steam app and started installing FSX Steam Edition. I did testing, I installed add-ons, I did more testing, I installed more add-ons over and over again until I had all the add-ons and utilities, sceneries, weather engine, textures, aircraft, everything that I needed installed and running. And after the first few flights, with all my sliders pretty much maxed out, I knew I wouldn't be needing old boxed version FSX anymore. So long, old friend, and thanks for the memories.